What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Over the last month or so, Nintendo has been working to fill out the second half of 2022. But we already know there is a massive release for the system in November, and it appears over the last 7 or 8 days, there have been a bunch of leaks popping up online from one source that's caused quite a bit of controversy over the next big Pokemon titles, and we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about the SEGA Genesis Mini 2. It's been confirmed for the West, and more titles were revealed that's making this thing seem pretty good for the price. And we're also going to be talking about Skate. It was revealed last week that it is a free-to-play live service, but no paid loot boxes, except that's not really what the data mining is saying. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with Sucker Punch and Ghost Tsushima, which is one of my favorite games from the PlayStation 4 generation, specifically from Sony's first party. And they did have a re-release essentially with Director's Cut on the PS5 with new downloadable content. Well, we had some statistics that were revealed the other day. We could see this posted up by Sucker Punch on Twitter. This weekend marks 2 years since the release of Ghost Tsushima. We are blown away by all of the support since then, and so grateful for all of you. Thank you to everyone who has played and shared this journey with us. In these different numbers they share, it's almost 1 billion standoffs, for example. But the big number that stood out to everyone was that Ghost Tsushima has now sold 9.73 million copies total. It is coming up on that 10 million mark, which I think is a pretty big milestone for a new intellectual property. I mean, at that point, it will have sold what Last of Us Part 2 was reportedly sold last. So, I mean, really good stuff there for Sucker Punch. And I'm curious what they do next. Do they do a sequel to Ghost Tsushima, which again is proven to be very successful, or do they go off and make another new IP and then build on that one? Because Ghost kind of feels like it can stand on its own. It doesn't necessarily need a sequel, but you kind of capitalize on what's successful, right? So we'll see what Sucker Punch wants to do next. It's probably going to be a couple of years, though, because games like these take a while. Also, it looks like Sony's acquisition of Bungie has now wrapped up. We can see this posted up over on Twitter. From Bungie, we are proud to officially join the incredible team at PlayStation. We are excited for the future of our company and are inspired to bring together players from all over the world to form lasting friendships and memories. I saw some people trying to figure out what's going to happen now. Like, to be fair, when they first announced that Sony was acquiring Bungie, people thought Halo was going with them or something. Twitter's weird, but looking at this, it's something we won't notice for a while. Certainly not in the short term, because it's very clear that Sony wanted to acquire Bungie for their knowledge when it came to live service games. Making sure you can get it right out of the gate is very important, because the first impression for these free-to-play games is like everything, unless you want to spend years trying to repair the damage that could happen at that time. So Bungie coming in with all of their expertise, it makes sense for Sony's current roadmap of like 10 live service games over the next 6 or 7 years. So I don't think you're gonna see anything brand new from Bungie that's just under the Sony umbrella anytime soon, but at the very least, they should be able to provide quite a bit of input when it comes to these live service games that we're expecting, I think, as soon as next year. Oh, and several weeks ago, we did have the Sonic Origins Collection release, and it wasn't great. I mean, seriously, it's to the point where the modding community's kind of given up on it because of the rough shape that it's in, which is weird because it's a collection of older Sonic games. Anyway, it at least looks like SEGA is working to fix this game. We can see this post up. This by Katie, social media manager over there with Sonic the Hedgehog, saying, hey, thanks for the patience. The team's been listening and is working on fixing a variety of issues right now. We'll make sure to get some more official messaging out once we have more info for everyone. And I saw a lot of replies just showing paragraphs and pages of just all the stuff that's wrong with Sonic Origins. And I know some of the studios that worked on it came out and said, hey, it wasn't up to even our standards, but we kind of had to push it through. It's a mess for something that to me should have been pretty straightforward, which concerns me a bit for Sonic Frontiers. Although I know that's also separate from the studios that were working on Sonic Origins. Still, though, it's Sonic, and if you put out a collection of older titles that we've already played and that's in rough shape, not a lot of confidence in Sonic Frontiers at that point. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with all of these Pokemon leaks for Scarlet and Violet that have been circulating over the last week or so. And nothing there is like crazy spoiler territory, because it's stuff that we're going to see most likely before the game comes out it sounds like just information that the Pokemon Company will relay to us in a Pokemon Presents. But some of it is a bit out there, and one in particular I have to see for myself with Game Freak. Anyway, let's take a look here. This is over on Go Nintendo, which I'll link down below if you want to go through even more of the information. They have some bullet points here for us. For example, the gyms will be able to be completed in any order, but the difficulty will not scale. So let's say you start off with a really difficult gym, I guess. Your Pokemon will just be underleveled. You can technically work to build up to a certain level just by grinding beforehand. But it seems like, even though you can do that, it'll be almost a predetermined path with the easy gym, the intermediate gyms, and then like the difficult gyms. They do say there will be around 400 Pokemon in the regional Pokedex. No previous generation starters will be included. And there's a special new item which will give Pokemon a crystal aura, boosting a single type for use in battle temporarily. Now, all of these leaks seem to be coming from one account currently. They've also shared screenshots of different images of different evolutions for like Quaxley, Sprigatito, and a few others. I'm not going to show those images here because the Pokemon Company does not mess around. All right, that's first and foremost there. I've seen videos get stricken down with copyright and pulled off the internet because they showed leaks. Now, the account apparently is by the name of Riddler, except they have changed it. They've private it depending on how the information is spread. It's sort of all over the place. However, the one thing that really stuck out to me, and I'm like, is Game Freak going to do this? There is an element of time travel involved with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, allegedly, according to the information that's been put out there through these leaks. And I'm already thinking about like, all right, Game Freak's going to attempt open world Pokemon. That sounds difficult. Now it's like, no, they're going to attempt that. And then also time travel, something that just most studios, movies, series, whatever, has a hard time with. So it's like, all right, I guess we'll see how Game Freak handles it. Now, obviously, none of this is confirmed necessarily, although I have reason to believe that some of this, I'll say, is correct. And people are wondering, how is this information getting out there? Because like the screenshots, they're purposely made blurry, but some have noticed that there are like numbers and markings around the border of the screenshots, and that's led most people to conclude this is a tester. And yeah, that actually kind of makes sense because they wouldn't want to have the information put out there that would be identifying their build or even their unique ID, which would be very easy for the Pokemon Company to track down, and trust me, they'll track you down. I mean, the idea of leaks isn't exactly new for Pokemon in general. I mean, this has been happening back to even the Game Boy, like with like Gold and Silver, and like people were posting on older forums about stuff that was upcoming that they saw at different events behind closed doors. And obviously we went through the whole thing with the strategy guide getting out there early for Sword and Shield. So yeah, I have reason to believe that there's actually quite a bit of this that is correct. So if you're curious about some more of the leaks, you can check it out on, I think Go Nintendo has a whole write-up for it, as well as Kotaku, or you can kind of hang out for probably a few weeks and we'll see a Pokemon Presents that'll outline quite a bit of this. So like I said, the big thing that sticks out to me is Game Freak and time travel. That sounds like it'll be something to see. Next up, let's talk about the SEGA Genesis Mini 2. It has been confirmed for the West. They're doing it through like Amazon Japan or something. The pre-order process is kind of strange, but you go to the page, you put your pre-order in, I guess it'll get to you in a timely manner. We'll see. October 27th, though, is the date, and we had another 10 or so titles that were revealed, and I was a little surprised at these titles, but also very, very excited because they are packing in a lot of value to this system, and they're leaning into not only just Sega CD, but like JRPG Sega CD games that have become extremely expensive online. Let's take a look at the list here, though. We'll start with some of the cartridge titles. There's like Alien Soldier, which that's a good one. Fatal Fury 2, Super Street Fighter 2, the new Challengers, Spatter, and then a few others here. But the thing that was really, really interesting, caught a lot of people's eye, has to do with the Sega CD titles. Final Fight CD, which, okay, that's good, but Lunar Eternal Blue and Lunar the Silver Star. Having those two titles on the Sega CD side of the Genesis Mini 2 is pretty impressive. Those games are not cheap. And I know you can technically emulate them yourselves if you want on your PC, but the fact that, yes, you will be getting these from Sega, licensed through them on this piece of hardware, it's good that they're at least recognizing it and they realize, okay, we're going to put this on here, because that also makes me think we could see Snatcher on this thing. And to me, that's one of the best ways you can show the value for the system. Put obscure titles on there that, yes, are hundreds of dollars on eBay, like Lunar 1 and 2 are $200 to $300 online, but you get Snatcher, which is just obscenely expensive online, and it's technically a Hideo Kojima game, and who knows, maybe he'll actually mention that on his own Twitter feed and bring awareness to that. There'd be, I think, a lot of interest that continue to grow around this system. At first, I wasn't too happy with SEGA doing this staggered release of information with these games, but it kind of works if they have stuff like a Lunar to put out there, and then maybe a Snatcher in the next one, and who knows what other obscure titles they can get for the Sega CD side. The cartridges, sure, that's great, but I think most of us are looking at this thing because of the potential for that Sega CD library. Lunar is on the PS1, but hey, Sony took a swing with their PS1 classic, and we saw what happened there, so it's up to Sega to bring us some of these games. Next up, let's talk about EA and Skate. There were a lot of concerns when Skate was first announced because it's EA, and let's face it, there's a lot of stuff that they could monetize beyond the initial purchase price in a skateboarding game. There's clothes, there's your board, your grip tape, maybe even your bearings. Like I said, EA could do all kinds of stuff. They're very creative when it comes to the monetization side of games. Well, last week, unfortunately, it was announced that it is a free-to-play live service game. I'm sure some people are like, okay, cool, it's free to play. That's great, I can just try it out. But for me, it does bring up a lot of concerns around how this is going to be handled after it releases. Well, during that presentation, they said there'd be no paid loot boxes. And EA has at least been attempting to work away from loot boxes after the government started looking into it. But there was data mining that's taken place during this pre-alpha closed beta that they're currently running to get the feel of the game down. And we can see this posted up over on Reddit, a screenshot. Unlockables and product boxes. Yeah, they're what appears to be the swag bag. Wow, okay. They do say you earn taps by exploring Fun City and completing challenges. You exchange taps for product boxes in the main menu, which you go to the store, of course, for that. And each product box you open will have a random unlockable item inside, which, yeah, it's a spin of a wheel, basically, a loot box. And you'll get new things in that box to apparently build kit, customize screens. It sounds like it's going to be mostly cosmetic stuff, but still, I'm looking at a loot box right now, and they said there wouldn't be any paid loot boxes. Is that how they get around this? They have different currencies that exchange back and forth. You don't buy the loot box technically, like outright with real money, but you may put it in for this currency, then it's converted to that currency, then to this item, then back to this currency, and then you find it your way to that loot box. The fact that we have randomization like this in the game is already kind of annoying because you may go to the store and be like, I want those shoes, I want that shirt, I want that board. Whereas then you'd have to basically just roll the dice and hope that it lands on like a 2 and a 4 or something. I don't know. They'll come up with different ways to spin a wheel and make it look all fancy and glamorous. And it's like, I got to do that again. So it's just EA being EA. Again, very disappointing to me when I saw the direction they were going with this. Kind of expected though with EA. I mean, it's still very early on. Maybe they'll hear a lot of the feedback and adjust accordingly, but something tells me they've chosen the path that makes the most sense for, well, I mean, the pocketbook, obviously, with what EA's trying to do here. So we'll see at least how the game feels and plays when it comes out, probably still several years from now. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the NPD reports for June. This tracks the over-the-counter sales and some digital sales in the US for the month of June. We can see this, though, tweeted out by Matt Piscatello, who had a lot of information to go over here. Starting with PlayStation 5 generated the highest dollar sales amongst video game hardware platforms in both June and the first half of calendar 2022, while Switch led both time periods in unit sales, and that's just because the overall disparity when it comes to the pricing for these systems. I mean, if you look at it, the PS5 is $500, the Switch OLED's $350, or the Switch Lite's $200, the digital PS5 is $400. So it makes sense that the PS5 would be able to just bring in more dollars overall, whereas the Switch can still sell more units. And that's kind of what we expect, is the Switch probably just, for the most part, always sell more units until eventually they just run out of people to sell the Switch to. Now, if we move over to the top 20 video games, these are all in dollar sales. Elden Ring's still number one. I mean, it's just rolling along here, and we may hear it potentially before the end of this year that Elden Ring has crossed 20 million sold. It is just on fire. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, though, still holding up at number 2. Then we have Mario Strikers Battle League. That's just the physical copies, doesn't count any of the digital sales for Nintendo. And yeah, I gotta admit, it's a little disappointing to see Mario Strikers up there, even in the top 5, because it's just a poor outing overall from Nintendo and Next Level Games. I mean, they haven't really done any substantial updates still, and it just feels very bare bones at this time. It's a game that I hope to come back to next year and feels at least somewhat complete. Then we have MLB The Show 22. Overwatch jumped all the way up to number 5 from 57. Mario Kart 8, because why not? Then we have Nintendo Switch Sports. Kirby and the Forgotten Land still hanging in there in the top 10. Final Fantasy VII Remake, by the way, jumped all the way from 159 to number 9. Of course, after we saw the Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary stream that showed off Rebirth. And then Minecraft rounding out the top 10. Now, I do want to point out one game outside of the top 10 that debuted in June, and that's Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. They came in at number 16 for just the physical copies. It feels low. It came out on the 24th, so it's like a week of sales. And I mean, the Fire Emblem Warrior series isn't exactly like Mario or Zelda or anything like that. So we'll see how it does in July, where it has an entire month to sell. If it doesn't do better than 16 and it even falls out of the top 20, then yeah, that'd probably be a disappointment overall. But Elden Ring, still number 1. Mario Strikers there at number 3. I'm curious how Strikers will do going into July, if it falls down a bit or maybe stays up there. We'll see. But yeah, Elden Ring is unstoppable, and it doesn't look like we're going to see it fall out of the top 5 even anytime soon. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, how do you feel about the new Skate being a free-to-play live service game? Hey, 14% said I like it. Free-to-play makes it easy to try out. That's true. You can just kind of download it on a whim, see what you think, and then if you don't like it, you just delete it. 51% said I don't like it. I'm concerned about how monetization will be handled. And then 35% said I'm not really interested in the Skate game. So there is still a large pool of people who say they're not interested, but you never know. They could one day just be like, oh, let me check this out. Maybe that's what EA's hoping for with the free-to-play method. That just put it up there and maybe someone will try it out even if they wouldn't have before, whereas they wouldn't if it was like $70 or something. But still, I would have preferred just to have bought it for $70 and that be that. But let's face it, even if the game was $60 or $70, they'd still work microtransactions in some way. Just now it's free to play, so they probably feel like they can just be very egregious with it. And that's the biggest thing they need to communicate ahead of release, is how the monetization is going to work. How egregious are we looking at here? Because when I see free to play, I realize they got to make money somewhere. And that means, yes, they might sell you grip tape, shoes, and bearings for like $5 or $10 each. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Junk saying, the best digital collectibles were the unique save icons for the PS2, also PS1. Always fun to get a new game and to see the save icon on the memory card. Back then we didn't have many games, so the small things matter. You know what? This was a good point. I forgot about this. I did go out and look a bit, and somebody posted like a compilation of them on Reddit. Here's an image. We can zoom in a little bit and scroll around. But essentially back then, if you had save data for a PS2 game, and you went to like the memory card to manage it, whether it's deleting, copying, any of that, you would have this unique icon that was related to the game in some way. Sometimes it was just a cube that had the title of the game on the side of it. Other times, it was King Kai from Dragon Ball Z. So it was fun to have those, and sometimes, yeah, you really liked one of them, and maybe it was for a game you rented. You didn't want to delete the save data, but the save data was taking a room on your memory card that you had to free, because memory cards were expensive back then, especially when there was like the shortage for like a year or two. So yeah, that was a good time, and it's pretty cool at times to pop in a PS2 memory card that maybe you bought used and just see what kind of icons are on there and what the people were playing before you. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, whereas Pokemon Scarlet and Violet leaks are all over the place online. What do you think about some of those details with the open world style and even time travel? And then also, what about the Genesis Mini 2? Lunar is going to be on there. What other games do you want to see from that Sega CD library? And then Skate with EA. Are you concerned about the future of this game? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.